Hello, I've got a new Portugal update for you. My latest adventure has been getting my identification number for the National Health Service here in Portugal, my número de utente. So, it's one of those admin tasks that I haven't been looking forward to doing and I put off doing because I knew it was going to take a somewhat technical conversation in Portuguese. And I nearly had a meltdown in the middle of trying to get it sorted and nearly ran away and gave up on it completely. Except I needed it for my residency renewal, so I couldn't really give up. But I got the number in the end, and it was, all in all, it was pretty painless. So here's what happened, and this is a situation that I find crops up in business again and again as well. If you hit an obstacle, how we deal with it, especially when it's something we don't feel confident about, is really, really important. So firstly, I did all of my research. That's the easy part. So I looked up where the nearest health centre was to our new house in Alvia. It's the one in Alviazare. So I figured out where that was and where we needed to go, when it was open, all of that stuff. And then I looked up and researched all the documents that I was going to need. So there's things like proof of address, passport, residence card, recent utility bill, all of that kind of stuff. And I gathered all of those things, printed them out and took them with me. So I rocked up to the health centre early in the morning to give myself plenty of time, and I hoped it would be quieter then. And I was nervous about the conversation. I was nervous about people behind me, kind of holding up people behind me and them judging me. Not that it matters, but I was worried about it. When it came to my turn, I spoke to the receptionist. I used the phrase that I'd been rehearsing to open the conversation, and then gave her my documents. And it's always when the conversation takes an unexpected turn that it gets stressful, because there's only so much you can rehearse. So within about half a minute of leafing through my documents, she said, "Oh, there's a document missing." My heart sank. And then she explained exactly what the document was and where I needed to go to get it. But I only understood about 50% of that. So I tried to ask a few questions, but by this point, I was tripping over myself and I couldn't remember any of my verbs. And she was, well, she was not unkind. She was very matter of fact and even a bit brusque, and that I found that did not help put me at ease. So I ended up panicking inside my own head, quietly panicking, and I felt this massive wave of shame. My Portuguese wasn't good enough for this. I hadn't prepared well enough. I was failing, and I wasn't managing to do this really important task, and I didn't know how to fix it. And of course, that wave of shame made it really hard, even harder for me to pay attention, even harder for me to think clearly, even harder for me to think my way around the situation, even harder to access any of my Portuguese. My brain basically froze. So I got enough to understand it was something about proving my address, and I needed to go to another government office to get the document. And at that point, I realised I just needed to get out there and regroup. So I did. I met my husband, and we sat in a cafe, and he helped me with one thing, and the other thing I did on my own. So he helped me by listening to me talk about how rubbish I felt. I got that out in the open, so it wasn't a secret anymore. I'm sure it was obvious that I felt rubbish, but I got it out in the open. I owned up to it. Which dispelled the shame, and also then I was able to emotionally regulate. I remembered my breathing techniques, I remembered my somatic tools, and I really calmed myself down. Once I calmed down, suddenly an idea popped into my head that I didn't have to go back there and ask and listen again to the words when I knew that was going to be a struggle. I could ask them to write down the list of things I needed, and then I could cross-reference and see what I had and what I didn't. So I had I got my creative thinking back online. I calmed myself down, and the other thing I remembered is that I'd stopped treating the other person like a human being. I was so busy with my own panic, I'd stopped treating the other person like a human being. And when you need someone's help, it's always much better if you can build the relationship. One, because it makes it easier for them to help you, and two, because actually it puts you at ease as well, because you're dealing with another human being, not just a threat. So, having done that, I went back, and there was another receptionist there. I made an effort to smile. I chatted with both of them, and they wrote down the list for me. We had a bit of a joke about it. Then I went away, I even remembered to ask them, given where I lived, which was the local government office, the local junta de freguesia that I needed to go to. So they told me, and it was a different one to one I thought, so that was really helpful. I got enough information to go away, get the document I needed, managed to have the conversations in Portuguese to do that, then went back to the health centre, gave them all the information, managed to get my tax number wrong, so I had to update that. The receptionist and I had a laugh about that together, and I managed to get my numero de utente, and I managed to have a nice interaction with the person behind the desk.